Yeah, I'm going to next slide. Am I?
Yeah. Just,
click on the X.
yeah. Click on it now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll do it for you.
All right, next slide, please. So this is the talk description published in the NarraScope schedule, and we're going to be sticking with it today, which is a damn miracle, because pregnancy is a body horror fever dream, and not even for $1 million could I have reproduced these sentences for you between the time that I submitted them until the time that I made the slides. I feel like most of these words in this description should be familiar to us, but there's one that I feel like gets used without further scrutiny, and that's glitch. So naturally, I looked in the OED to figure out where it came from. Anyone know? How many people have used the word glitch, even just today? Okay. Well, what's interesting is it's astronaut slang. It was coined by John Glenn into orbit. Literally, a glitch is a spike or change in voltage in an electrical circuit, which takes place when the circuit suddenly has a new load put on it. A glitch is such a minute change in voltage that no fuse could protect against it. As a verb, it has come to mean to experience a setback or malfunction, to go wrong. Basically, it means something small and unpreventable that could cause large catastrophic failure. Next slide, please. So here's what we're specifically going to do today. First, I'm going to do a tight 15 on failure. I've written it down, so I know that it's 15 minutes. Where I really argue for its merit. Then we're going to break into partners and small groups to present glitches from our most recent projects. Think what you're working on now, not stuff that's finished or polished. I am not interested in finished or polished today. This glitch that you present could be anything from a piece of programming that doesn't work to a narrative device that you keep getting negative feedback on, to a piece of a visual asset that just doesn't feel quite right. Then in those same small groups, we're going to radically praise the glitch as though you intended for it to be there. And we're going to explore what that teaches you about your intentions for the piece and its players, and ultimately your own style as a maker and storyteller. Next slide.
Coming up. Coming up. Beep, beep. Okay, that's back. This is forward.
Yep.
And that's the glitch.
First off, hi. I'm not here because I have a bunch of games to my name. I actually don't really output games at all. I write traditional novels. Here are two that I have published. The top one's about Gamergate, and the bottom one is about trans witches fighting artificial intelligence with magic. Both books are queer as hell because I'm queer as hell, and my process is also queer as hell, which is how I came to teach things like new media, a term that I hate, by the way, and interactive fiction, even though I mostly write books. Because even though my words don't have branching choices, the ways that I arrive at them make use of a ton of different disciplines and modalities, from writing in twine to making cheese. The cheese book's not out yet. I teach in the creative writing department at the University of British Columbia, and I teach a particular kind of workshop that I call radical praise, which has been heavily influenced by the authors Tiffany Yannick and Molly Serpell. But who am I to be talking to you about failure? Next slide, please. Someone who has failed a lot is who I am to be talking to you about failure, and I continue to fail a lot every single day. I fail at teaching at least one of my classes every semester. The first testimonial on here is my very favorite Rate My Professor review, specifically my teaching an interactive narrative. My first book was, by many metrics, a failure. The second testimonial on here comes by way of Goodreads and is about the Gamergate novel. And my second book just came out and is a USA Today bestseller, but it is also, in many ways, and according to many, a total disaster. The third testimonial on here is a one-star reader review. Like many of you, I suspect that I have a tendency to focus on comments like these. Next slide, please. Even if we are theoretically okay with failure as an abstract concept, and even if we are okay with it for other people, sometimes I suspect we are not okay with it when it's us. And when you make work for public consumption, as we all do, failure is a constant rather than something exceptional. So rather than trying to ignore my failure, which I did try to do, and it turns out that does not work, or by aggrandizing myself to be above my failures, which I also did try, and it turns out that also doesn't work and makes me into an asshole, I have thought long and hard about how to have a relationship with my failure. Next slide, please. Funnily enough, when I look up failure in the OED, because that's my favorite thing to do is look things up in the OED, it's great. The first line is the fact of failing, which isn't really a definition at all. It's almost like even the dictionary assumes we all know what failure means and how to deal with it. It goes on to say omitting to perform something due or required. I'm a homosexual, which means that when I try to figure out what failure is, I turn to Jack Halberstam's The Queer Art of Failure, which is where this quote is from. I'm going to read it for you here. Failure preserves some of the wondrous anarchy of childhood and disturbs the supposedly clean boundaries between adults and children, winners and losers. And while failure certainly comes accompanied by a host of negative effects, such as disappointment, disillusionment, and despair, it also provides the opportunity to use these negative effects to poke holes in the toxic positivity of contemporary life. If you've not read The Queer Art of Failure, I super highly recommend it. It positions failure as a positive, as a force that grants freedom by refusing to adhere to disciplinary knowledge tropes and memes and bucking legibility that might otherwise hamstring innovative thinking. This all begs the question. Next slide, please. Is what you're doing actually not working? In fact, given all of this, is failure as we know it even possible? Next slide. Sometimes. Sometimes it's failure, guys. If you have a really specific vision and you're trying to enact it and it's literally not happening, yeah, sometimes your shit doesn't work. Next slide, please. Sometimes not. Sometimes failure might not be your failure, but rather a structural failure. Are you operating in a system that, for example, requires legibility or documentation? If you are a marginalized creator making something in opposition to those structures, yeah, man, this one might not be on you. Are you making a complex argument with your work? Or are you challenging a large institution that has a vested interest in maintaining the status quo? This, for example, is Emma Sulkowicz, who carried her 50-pound mattress around Columbia University until the student responsible for sexually assaulting her was expelled or otherwise left the university. The aggressor, accused by 3 different women, was not disciplined by the university, and Sulkowicz carried her mattress to graduation. She got a lot of hate for her performance piece, also her senior thesis, and Columbia University made it harder for subsequent survivors of assault to speak out against their aggressors after she left. Is that Emma Sulkowicz's failure? Of course not. That's a case of the world failing Emma Sulkowicz. Own what is yours. Everything else is not your business. Regardless of what kind of failure it is, something actually not working with your project or something outside your project not working, remember this. A glitch is an inevitable and unpreventable side effect of a circuit bearing a brand new load, even a small one. To do a new thing, to stretch even a little, means glitching is the only way forward when we are busy bucking tropes and escaping legibility. Glitching is part of making art and can, therefore, teach us about our own authorial voice, because chances are the places we're overloading our circuits are the places we're intellectually hot right now. In the spirit of resisting mastery as a value, here are some more specific terms to think about, things I teach often in my traditional fiction classes that might be helpful as we embark upon our activity here today. This is meant to give us some common vocabulary as we move on to discussing our glitches. Next slide. Oh, this child is killing me. Oh, I'm so hot. So I first want to go over the idea of implied reader, which is originated by Matthew Salasis in Craft in the Real World. If you engage with fiction at all, I highly recommend you read this book, regardless of the fact that it's written for traditional fiction. Nearly everything in it can be applied to IF, including the idea that there is no such thing as pure craft. All craft is cultural, and part of what you're here to do is identify the 5 people who you're making your art for and center your craft choices around them. In Salasis's book, you then go on to identify an audience of 5,000 and 15,000 that includes your original 5. I do something similar when I'm thinking about how to approach my books. Next slide, please. On my notes, I have just explained this. You've done it 100 times. So I'm writing a book about Satan right now. This is not the cheese book also. This is a book about Satan. And when I am writing this book, the person that I am writing for when I am drafting, my first draft, is my friend Adrian. So one person at the center. My friend Adrian is a trans youth pastor in Kentucky. So this is the person that's going to pick up everything that I am putting down in this book. Every reference is for them. So what I then do is I scaffold it out and I say, okay, who else can be included if my center of my audience, my circle right in the middle is Adrian? Well, I go, okay, queer people victimized by Christian religious communities. All right, that bigger audience, not just Adrian. All right, as I'm continuing forward, who am I making this for that includes that? Anyone with a complicated relationship to Christianity. Usually for me, I do this in draft, and I get out to all participants in repressive and oppressive institutions eventually. But when I am making something right at the beginning and we're doing works in progress today, I think of one person. What I say is I can scaffold out for these other audiences, but I can't ever cut something for my friend Adrian. I can make it make sense for other people, but I can't get rid of it because then it moves the center and that moves my intention. And to me, that's what it means to center a particular reader or player. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Oh, boy, howdy. It's really hot in here. I can apply this to my teaching too. Remember my favorite rate my professor feedback? It said, I'm gay and it makes me homophobic. Oh, it's great. The core audience for my classes is a trans student who has spent most of their 4 years in university reading cis protagonists. I scaffold out to my other students, and I might be looking at a failure to do so, but this mismatch is helping me identify both a growth area and an area of professional importance to me. It teaches me something about my values as an instructor. To connect this to interactive narrative, think back to Sweary's keynote with the player sensation flowcharts and take it one step further. All players will not have the same triggers for the sensation that you're wishing to cause. As a minoritized player heavily invested in anti-violence, I will never, for example, feel invincibility caused by shooting zombies. If you want me to feel that way, you'll have to either give me a different mechanic altogether or a really, really good reason to be able to abandon my own value system and have fun in another. It's possible to do. I play Fortnite and I like it. To directly connect it to the missing, for example, I will never need prodding to feel empathy for a minoritized character. That game didn't imagine me as the implied reader or implied player, and that's fine. Making a game to inspire empathy in men isn't a bad use of time. I'm just not the person it's for. So when you're talking about what is or isn't a glitch, remember not to let someone who isn't in your center of audience, who isn't in your implied playership, define what is and is not working. They can offer insights about it, but they cannot define it. Next up is, got ahead of me.
Sorry.
Next up is thematic argument. A theme is what your piece is actually about. Everything you do should lead a reader to ask questions about your central argument. It's one of the reasons fiction is so powerful. You can sneak your own arguments into someone else's mind, and they're going to think they came up with it. That's because, in the end, all reading is interactive, but that's a whole other talk. Remember my failure testimonial about the adult acting like a child? That feedback misgenders my main character over and over again. That feedback is a mismatch in thematic argument. It willfully misunderstands why a trans person might come of age at a different rate and in a different way than a cis person. In the case of thematic argument, NarraScope has supplied me with the perfect example to tie this back to interactive fiction. Now, next slide. That's Nat. They're right there. When Nat Messnard presented their game, Assemblage, their number one thematic argument was to break the binary between narratives of utopia and dystopia, stories of triumph or ruin. When that binary is broken, we can begin to think of our survival during climate disaster. Every choice they made for that game supports busting that binary, down to the fact that each player plays as an entire species rather than as an individual. If someone were to say to Nat, I don't have a protagonist to connect to, and I think that's a mistake, that's not a glitch. That's a feedback mismatch. Next slide.
1 second. Boom. Gotcha.
All right. Aesthetic argument. When you're designing a game, you might work instead from a particular aesthetic you're interested in exploring and go backward to your theme and to your implied reader. That's also a great way to do things. If you want to explore ultra omniscient narration, for example, you might devise a story or a game where that's your centerpiece. Or remember my failure testimonial from my first novel? The writing style refers to my narration, which is a collective first-person unreliable narrator. The book is about Gamergate, and it's narrated by the incels of Reddit, who hate the protagonist. It's really specific taste, guys. That one's an acquired taste. But I do think it was ultimately successful. Next slide. To bring it back to interactive fiction, this is Bridget. She's right here. In Bridget Winter's talk on how form can inspire play, she presented her game Psychic Trash Detectives. If someone gives Bridget aesthetic feedback to the tune of less trash, honey, that's not a glitch. Because it is at odds with Bridget's aesthetic goals. If someone were to critique our Diva Fish game that we made during that session with, I just don't like a clack fan, that sucks. That fan isn't a glitch. That fan is point. Next one. Told you it was going to be a 15 minutes. Now we're going to do activity. So with the remaining time, we are going to break into pairs if you want a little more time, or 3s and 4s if you're wanting to keep it a little light today. I've been mentioning that you can do this with either people you know, if you're going to find that most meaningful, or you might want to get some feedback from people that you don't know. That is up to you. I'm not going to sort of mandate either way. But during this time, what I want you to do is take turns explaining what you're working on. I will say that the other reason I make all of my students do this is when people get weird talking about their projects, it is not a professional look. So you should be able to answer the question, what are you working on? Even if you're internally screaming when someone asks it without it externally screaming. So try to keep it to 2 to 3 sentences. And if you get uncomfortable or you glitch out, just start again. It's okay. This is a good thing to practice doing. Well, here's some criteria. Oh, bloop, back.
Hey, put it at me.
Here's some criteria. What is the game about? That can include plot, but it can also include that thematic or aesthetic argument we were just talking about. Who is the game for? Who is your implied reader player? Who's at the center of those concentric circles for you? What do your characters in the game want? And what do the players do? Then each person is going to reveal a glitch that you have not resolved yet. The unresolved nature. If you think you don't have one, choose a newer project to explain. Because there's obviously in progress work shit that's going wrong. And shit that's going wrong actively and right now. It can be anything. It can be something that's not working with your code. It can be a piece of feedback you keep getting over and over again, and you're not sure how to solve that in your narrative. Anything. Yeah? And then I'll come around and I'll probably try to push you a little further. If you are in Discord, please partner with each other. Are you comfortable facilitating partner ups in Discord?
Sure.
Thank you so very much. So have at it, my friends. I will bring us back a really particular way. Do we all know the quiet coyote? Yeah. I when it is time to come back, I will bring you back with the quiet coyote because I don't want to shout at you. So if anyone is not familiar with it, if you see me put this up, all you have to do is put it up too and stop talking. It does not work if you put this up and keep talking. So don't do that. Put it up and stop talking. Yeah? All right, I'll come around and push you a little further. And of course, like, look at that page.
Yeah. The other area, environment that you have songs for us that like get it overall like a big part so
Would it help me?
Oh, hang on, time.
Even with the glitch.
I mean,
just like on the chairs.
So what would you say is,
It's also the one that is that usually all of the members,
I could go, but and so there was something about
Oh, this is like this.
when you're looking at the monster, you're not going. No idea.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you go there, so yeah, I
Discord, please keep talking to each other. We're gonna have a couple more minutes on this, because folks are not finished here yet.
I'm DMing Well, the people in Discord. So we're doing it together.
Are you doing it too?
Yeah. So I'm just waiting for them to respond.
Um, I voice, so the way that I do the recording typically is I record all that and then I send it into the one of the episodes I did this long, super like, laying my face off, super emotional. I was like killing it, and I felt so proud. And it was two whole takes, kind of thing, and I felt kind of tired. And the showrunner was like, sorry, I need this to be in a like, as if it's like I need you to narrate rather than filming. And so that's little bits that would work. But like, if we could
Thank you. I love that. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to get it out of our system. We are going to hate on the glitches that we just heard about. I want you to give really critical feedback, imagining the absolute worst reader player you possibly can imagine. This is to make sure that we get all of the impulses out of us that are like really negative. So we're just going to sort of bleed it out. This is why I was like, some of you may want to do this with people you know, and some of you may want to do this with people you don't know. I don't know what is more comfortable for you, but you are essentially going to drink up the haterade, bitches. So get creative in your haterade. Think of every shitty thing someone could say if this published with the glitch in it already. Does that make sense? Do we have any questions about this part of the exercise? All the way in the back, can you tell me your name?
Cameron.
Cameron.
Are
Hi.
we expressing haterade towards our own project, or is it riskier and are we expressing haterade?
I'm going to leave that up to you.
Okay.
Like what feels like okay in your heart. Some people, for instance, people who have done a lot of traditional art workshops are very chill receiving haterade. And it would damage them more to do their own. Some people are like, no, I've got this. I think of this in my nightmares. Here's every bad faith thing that I think could happen. Dustin, you had a question as well?
Same question.
Same question. Cool. Yeah, no, up to you on the haterade. This is very much up to your personal comfort level. This is not where we're living. This is not where we're staying. So don't worry. This is just like getting it out of your system. Make sense? Okay. I'll give you a couple more minutes to do this bit. Haterade, bitches. So we've moved on now to the exercise right here. So please go ahead and do that amongst yourselves. It looks like there are 3 of you, which is a really, and 4 of you with the person in the room also participating. Looks like it's a really nice group size. So I hope you guys are getting a lot out of Haterade. Drink up, my friends.
here's my hater. You will never succeed in living in
One person saying, I am not even. Every time you work with people, every time you should go over
anytime I the person I want to know.
I tell you that. And so yeah, writing like that. And I wanted to write theory. Like, yeah.
We're not having and not share. And it's like imagine how we going to be wow. Yeah, right. It's like, you know, the yeah, and so right. Sure, now I'm sick. So oh, yeah, you're an indie out there. I can really go back to like maybe part of
Well, did you make that?
Yeah, I think it made sense, even though I was upset that I didn't do that.
Why do you feel right, you know, like.
The next slide, please, when you have the chance. Okay, so we did our haterade, we drank our haterade. How'd that feel? Hold on, who snorted? Alana, do you have feeling? No, no feelings whatsoever. Bridget, how did it feel?
It felt like we were breaking your rules. It's because we didn't finish our previous conversation and we just were very deeply interested in each other's projects. We didn't actually argue to the point where we were like
Honestly,
supporting each other and finding like
great. You don't have to do
we
this.
started because we didn't do haterade.
You can break my rules. That's fine. You can decide that this sucks. The reason I do it is because there's a lot of folks who, when we get to this step, which is radically praised, a lot of people actually really resist it quite a lot. They think, oh no, this is not meaningful feedback. And if I don't feel shitty, then I'm not learning anything. And I disagree with that. But I like doing things sort of in stark contrast. Because the thing about the haterade is it doesn't really give us a lot of way forward. Like it stops momentum. It doesn't really generate momentum. It doesn't tell us what to do. We just know what we're avoiding. And so the haterade method of, is this working, never really works for me. So you can skip it if you're already enlightened. But most people I talk to who have not done like praise-based feedback before are like, well, if I don't feel bad, I'm not working. And it's not working. So I let you haterade first, but we're not going to live there. We are not going to live here in radical praise. So what is radical praise? I actually have a whole workshop that does this, where there's a lot of different things that we do, but the centerpiece of it is complimenting the shit out of each other. But the thing about complimenting the shit out of each other is that we are often using compliments as the spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down. So like, you know, the shit sandwich, where like you compliment, you give the real feedback, and then you compliment again, right? That's garbage. You cannot, if you do deliver compliments that way, they are useless compliments. You cannot actually use them to generate momentum, to figure out anything about your authorial voice, to figure out anything where your feet is, because they are superficial. So how do we make them actually useful complements? The first thing is specific. Now, if we had a piece of yours in front of us, we'd be pointing to it and saying, this part, here's this. We can't do that because we're doing this sort of on the surface today. We've just met. You are describing your projects to each other, but really, truly take a minute and think about something specific someone in your group said. For example, if we were to cite for Cameron, is that Cameron? We were to cite one of the artifacts that Cameron is working with, particularly. We're citing particularly the kimono. And then we're talking about that. Try to get as particular as you can. The more specific you can get, the more we can laser focus in on exactly where something is working. The next is intellectually rigorous. We cannot stop it. I like this. That's useless. Why do you like it? Now, this is especially important while we're praising glitches. Why does this glitch belong here? What give us the best argument for this glitch, for this implied readership? What might this make them feel if you leave the glitch in? If you embrace the glitch or amp the glitch up? What does that do for your implied reader? What does that do for your thematic argument? What does that do for your aesthetic argument? And really get as intellectually rigorous with that as you can. You are essentially arguing to keep the mistake in. The last thing, and this is the most important thing, and if you take nothing else away from this talk today, take this. You cannot ever lie about praise. If you have, that's okay, because we've been encouraged to lie about praise. We have been taught the script of the shit sandwich, where we're like, pick anything, it doesn't matter, compliment whatever. I like the color, it's pink. Like, that's it. And it's meaningless, and you don't even like pink. That's how we've been encouraged to treat compliments. What that does is two things. First off, it makes them useless. So if you're complimenting someone and they take you seriously, they are now going to implement a strength that is not actually real. And that is a goose chase for iteration and revision. And it sucks. But the worst thing that it does is it means if you lie about praise, you will never believe someone else when they say they like your work. And that is worse. It ruins your relationship to receiving positive feedback. It is fixable. I, too, was raised in the tradition of, if I don't feel bad, is it even an art class? And halfway through grad school, I had this realization. I stopped lying. And now I believe people when they say they like something of mine. So it is repairable. And if you are in that stage of this is great practice for you. So that's what we're going to do now. For the rest of this session until we debrief, we are going to make the argument that your glitch should stay. And give it the best, most rigorous, radical praise you can. This I do want you to try to do for each other. But if you think of one for yourself, fuck yeah, say it. That's empowering as shit. Yeah? Any questions before we start? Cool. Praise the shit out of each other. Same with you guys. Praise the shit out of each other. And remember, get really, really rigorous and really honest. Never lie about praise.
I would say the same of you, because like, yeah, those things are fun.
Should have a space net.
It's like sometimes work like the things that
First thing I did. So I. And they told them that they were very, they were like, three old men. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a no like. Maybe you have during picture. Yeah, that's
like, yeah, maybe with like,
You're probably where we're really good at
like, oh, maybe this project isn't really for me.
Yeah, and also if you be really good. And they ask you, I mean, like reread it, like really like, right, instead of just I go tell you and then I'm just reading on like could be right that they're on the decline or this is the panic attack doing. And that's the question that memory component that I just bring. I can't ruin your
You are among you.
if you leave that.
I definitely think I like. Because they're like you're trying.
One of the places where
I know you think it's starting.
why actually be assisting. Let's wake up.
If you leave it in, you don't change it if they're not associated
They can be.
It's radical craze just too fucking high.
Just in that one line.
It was really hard, yeah.
So like, they'll tell me something, like, it's interpreted, they told me, listen, to like, so now, yeah. like freaking cheese on food. It's just like, I don't know this person at all.
That's not. And so that is, you know, I remember. I don't know how people know but that's.
I don't know how they tell me, but that's it.
Really, really unclear. The reason I reached out, I wanted to get it.
Basically, like you're playing God making this video.
Honestly, if I do want you are the only person who has so we're all worried. Everybody. You bring it into the room. I don't know the hours at the day. I want to see how it is.
Could you actually switch to the next slide for me?
Sure.
Thank you so very much.
Okay. You only got 22 slides.
Yeah. The debrief is the next one.
Oh, yeah. Political. Yeah.
So maybe letting me go and just actively decide on the perspective now. No, I have.
Friends, we are going to move to debriefing very soon. I've put the debrief questions up. If you're finished, you can skip right through them. And the lovely person in the room will also watch for questions in Discord, because there is one of these guiding sort of polls for the debrief that is any questions you still have about this process. So if you'd like, you can jump to this. If you'd like to keep praising each other, that is okay too. Remember that this is sort of inherently weird. This lovely person in the room, Zuri, who's been DMing a lot of you, actually just brought up a concern, which is like, we don't know each other at all and we're outside. And that in some ways is much harder than what we're doing in the room. In some ways, it's pretty even. This is an inherent weirdness in the space of cons. And so don't be afraid to ask each other clarifying questions. We've all just met. Don't be afraid to clarify yourself if something that you said you feel like isn't coming across. So you've got this. You are doing an inherently weird thing. I'm asking for something that is outside the comfort zone of many. So cheers for you for attempting. Thank you. Thank you for doing Quiet Coyote so well with me. I just hate making those like weird, awkward mouth noises to get your attention. I do want to do a debrief with the big group because we've spent all our time in small groups. And I want to sort of take the temperature on the room on the stuff that we talked about. So I have these sort of three guiding, I was gonna say polls, but that's if there's two. I have these three guiding things that are going to help us debrief in the big group with each other. So what did praising the glitch teach you about your authorial concerns? Where is hot for you right now? Where is intellectually hot for you right now? You may also answer, what is something someone in your group other than you said that was super smart? I love this, the things that sort of stick with you. And then the last is if you're like, something about this doesn't make sense to me, and I would like to share what it is so that we can all answer. The reason large group debriefs are really important to me is because I do not think that an instructor at the front of the room is the arbiter of learning in a space. I'm the steward of learning in a space. And we are all co-constructing that learning. And it's really important for us to hear what happened in the groups. Your hand went right up. So I'm going to call on you first. What's your name?
Janine.
Janine. Hey, Janine. Take it away.
So, I'm sorry, it's not about the praising of the glitch session, it's the haterade.
Haterade. Yeah.
So one of the things in talking about the praise is a lie section, what I found, I was worried like that these two wouldn't hear my haterade as facetious, that it was like that it was totally me being fake about it, right? So in doing the haterade session, it kind of allowed me to put the worst, most calamitous answer into this very silly kind of like, it doesn't, that sounds so stupid, right?
Yeah. Haterade is camp.
Mhm.
Like haterade is absolutely camp. And I like turning the dial way up on its cheesiness because like when someone then comes at you on the internet saying the same shit that you like invented in your haterade session, it really takes this thing out because that person needs to touch grass. What else in these three sort of camps? What's your name?
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
I felt a lot of pressure in the beginning that I tried to sidestep just in myself to like pick a glitch that was praisable. Because I was like, if I really give like a serious one, this is just gonna be an awkward conversation, not going anywhere, right? And then I backed up a little bit. The one that I ended up saying, I am genuinely having a problem with it. I'm taking the problem seriously, but I just sort of recognized that in my own mind at the beginning.
All right, you were like, what is my acceptable mistake?
Yeah.
Like, how can I present the best version of my mistakes that I possibly?
Or like make it easier on my group members because they don't actually want to deal with my bullshit.
Well, what did you learn?
Well, I mean, by taking it more seriously, I mean, it's some really great things to say, and they incredibly thought provoking. We all kind of had something in common that we're all imagining like a cultural gatekeeper who is yelling at us and in with all of our problems.
So, did your group want to deal with your bullshit?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You are all in this room, so I imagine that you would like to deal with each other's bullshit, yes?
Yes.
Neat. Cool. So, brilliant. What else in any of these three camps? Oh, tell me your name again. Is it Michael?
No, it's Nicholas.
Nicholas. That's not close at all.
It's
Nicholas.
I wanted to go to the last question that you had here. How do you do this for yourself? Like, it's really cool doing this with other people that you trust, but I think sometimes it's like a solo developer. I'm like in this mode, and I wonder if you have any tips or advice for how to practice this solo.
Cool. My tip and advice is not to. You are a solo developer. Are any other people here solo developers?
Yes.
Look at that. Okay. So that means you have a community of people who are sort of in the silo who you can turn to and say, I need some radical praise right now. And I need you to talk me out of the pit. You get to the point where you can talk you out of the pit later. If you are not practiced at praising yourself, you won't get practice praising yourself. Do it with other people, and exchange that with other people. Who else for debrief? One of these things. Zuri?
Yeah, so I'm speaking to Ken Delmar online. Everybody say hi, Ken. Ken is currently basically in a game jam, and he's working on a project that deals with trauma and systemic inequality. He was talking about how the game jam is meant to keep him motivated to actually get to the finish line and encourage me to say foul things to him as far as that is concerned. What I liked about that was that he was willing to like use it as fuel and motivation. I was a little bit on the fence about trying to do so because I'm like, I don't have any context for Ken other than this emoji here, and I like what I don't know who you are at all. Like, okay, I'm gonna try to insult you real quick. So that was really difficult. I consider myself a nice guy. I don't think I'm that mean. I tried to throw a haymaker at him. I told him he was playing God and nobody would benefit from the things that he was doing. And so I felt like that was mean, right? Like I wouldn't want to hear that.
But did you feel stupid saying it also?
I didn't. I felt like my inner critic. Like I felt like this is what I would say to myself. To be honest, I felt like that was probably why it was so hard to say to someone else because it's like, you know, I'm gonna be mean if it's me. Like if it's, I know how to be mean to myself.
But hold on, why do you deserve that more than Ken?
At least I know who I'm talking to.
I think the answer is like we're all people and we're all creators and we're all artists and we're all doing our best and we're all doing it to rigor. And so like if Ken doesn't deserve it and you don't, Ken, then why does Zuri? You don't. The answer is you don't. You're not different than Ken. So as a heads up, like when the haterade voice comes on, A, it's camp and you can dismiss the clown. But B, why are you special? Like, why do you deserve that more than anyone else? You don't. All right, we are at the end, yeah? All right.
Yeah.
Folks, thank you so very much. I'm on the internet. Can you do the next slide?
Yep.
It's just my contact information. Here's where you can find me. I am dropping a new project this fall, however, so I will be a little incommunicado, but this is my work email, and that is my Instagram. Thank